Roar, 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 the audience collectively cheered. Today's opponent was the tall and robust Gallic warrior, a Viking named Viking. He wielded a heavy hammer and wore thick armor, appearing exceptionally well armored. This time, it's hopeless. Septimus pounded his chest. Just the two of us against that guy. However, Henry had made up his mind. You handle the defense, and I'll take care of him. Begin. Viking came charging with the hammer. Septimus blocked the hammerhead. Meanwhile, Henry quickly used his dagger to slash at the opponent's exposed ankles. Hiss! Viking cried out in pain, looking towards the sky. Henry took advantage and stabbed the other ankle. Without his feet, Viking was suddenly handicapped. Septimus closed in, delivering powerful blows to the facial gaps. With all their efforts, the towering gladiator finally fell to the ground, unable to open his eyes again. They won, the audience exclaimed. Henry breathed a sigh of relief. This victory was thanks to the application of historical knowledge and the coordination between the two, overcoming a formidable enemy. However, an even more challenging task lay ahead. After the battle, Henry and Septimus returned to the training ground. The old instructor watched, feeling sentimental. It's not easy for one of you to survive, and now not only coexisting but also cooperating. It's truly precious. Henry and Septimus looked at each other and smiled. We complement each other's weaknesses. The instructor continued to ask, how did you have such tactical insight? It's more seasoned than many of your peers. Henry shook his head in confusion, still unaware of his past. The instructor left, pondering. That night, Henry alone reflected on the past, and suddenly an unprecedented scene appeared in his mind. A university classroom where he was demonstrating ancient military strategies. It dawned on him that he seemed to have been a historian. The next day during training, Henry approached Septimus. With a trial-and-error attitude, Septimus offered to help him investigate his identity. At that moment, a cry for help came from the adjacent cell. They rushed to see a new gladiator strangled to death in the cage. A larger conspiracy was brewing. Henry and Septimus squatted down to examine the body. The death seemed extremely unnatural. Someone wanted him dead, Septimus stated. Henry suddenly noticed a tattoo on the inside of the victim's arm. This tattoo looks familiar. Henry recalled that it was the emblem of an extreme populist student organization in his school. They advocated for discrimination against foreigners and supported a strict caste system. I remember now. I was trying to persuade them to disband this organization, Henry told Septimus. The two reported to the instructor. The instructor was momentarily stunned but remained calm on the surface. There are deaths here every day. Without concrete evidence, we can't draw conclusions. Continue your training. After the training, Henry revealed his original identity to Septimus and the fact that someone had issued a kill order. Septimus frowned, saying, This place is full of danger. We need to be even more careful in our actions. The next day, Henry accidentally broke off a piece of iron bar in his cell and secretly handed it to Septimus. Septimus, without sleeping for a night, finally deciphered a code. At this moment, a scream came from outside the cells. The two rushed to see, only to find another new gladiator had met a tragic end. Henry and Septimus sought the newly deceased gladiator, hoping to gather more information. They saw the same tattoo on his hand. Henry sighed in dismay. Did this person also hold some secrets when he was alive? As they were investigating, the prison warden quickly arrived to clear the body. Henry negotiated quickly with him, and after reluctantly answering a few questions, the warden left. There is the same tattoo on all nearby victims. There must be something going on, Septimus pondered. The warden also seemed suspicious. We need to conduct a thorough investigation. At night, Henry and Septimus sneaked into the warden's dormitory. After searching for a while, they finally found a secret logbook in a hidden compartment. With torchlight, they discovered evidence that the warden was colluding with the extreme organization, plotting to eliminate certain gladiators. They want to manipulate orders secretly here, Henry exclaimed. As they discussed their next steps, patrolling guards discovered their smuggling operation and immediately rushed in. Henry and Septimus had no choice but to put away the evidence and quickly withdraw. The road ahead was long. They had to find an opportunity to reveal the truth while staying vigilant not to be eliminated. Galba, Dugnillus, Boudica, Octavius, Septimus line up. In winter, the Gladius Magnus Ludus gladiator school was assaulted by cold winds. The sun was washed white by winter rain, yet there was no warmth in the air. The gladiators were called to the training ground by the instructor Flavius. In front of the training ground stood a 3-story high Roman courtyard-style villa. The owner occasionally visited to watch the gladiator performances. However, these gladiators were slaves without freedom, obligated to serve their masters without compensation. Today, as usual, pair up for training. Galba and Dugnillus, you are a team. Boudica, Septimus, the two of you are a team. After assigning training pairs, the instructor approached the new recruit Henry, resembling a teacher punishing a student from his childhood. Henry stood in the cold wind, feeling the turmoil and unease within. Today, Henry was not placed in any training group. The instructor took out 2 wooden swords from the weapons arsenal, covered in rags. Henry had no idea what the instructor intended to do with him. Octavius, today, I will personally train you. The head instructor, Artorius, a formidable Carthaginian, approached Henry. Henry felt a foreboding sense that the upcoming training would be brutal. Pick it up and come at me. Artorius tossed 2 Roman short swords to the ground, leaving the gladiators in awe. Today's training seemed to be exclusively for Henry. There was no escape for Henry. Artorius decided to shape Henry into a true bloodthirsty beast. Henry knew he couldn't just lie down. He had to treat his opponent as an enemy. The battle began, and Artorius demonstrated a perfect blend of speed and strength, leaving Henry almost defenseless. Blood oozed from wounds, and Henry felt powerless and in pain. Get up. Stab me as if I were your enemy, as if I were a gladiator aiming to kill you. Kill me. You won't be held responsible. This is the master's command. Artorius roared, the impact force intense. Henry struggled to stand up, and the 2 gladiators clashed again. Artorius no longer used weapons. He seized the short sword in Henry's hand with a crushing speed, and then fiercely punched Henry. In agony, Henry fell to the ground, hands covering the area where he was attacked. The instructor's foot pressed down on his head, and the training was far from over. This was the painful torment of a gladiator's growth, and the wealthy owner slowly entered the room. Just the first lesson for the young gladiator.